It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
So you're probably sitting there thinking, okay, guys, well, now you've kind of just ruined it, right? So I had this investment strategy I thought that I had figured out, 25, 25, 25, 25. But now you're saying I can't implement that, or perhaps that's not the best. What should I do? What are the ways that I should think about that? So we thought it'd be interesting to just talk through, all right, what's our strategy?
Yeah.
What are some things that we think about investing? What are some ways we look at portfolio construction?
Well, I think I look at this when we put this together. This is how you ensure that we're not the two old men on the Muppets that are up there in the cheap seats picking on poor Dave without actually having some credibility or something to it. So that's why we did want to share what is the money guy strategy for how you should look at this. The first thing I want you to understand is wealth creation is surprisingly simple. Now, don't mishear me. Simple does not mean easy because there are three main components to wealth creation. You've got discipline.
Yep.
What discipline means is that you are going to take a little bit of, you're actually going to do deferred gratification. You're going to live on less than what you make. And that margin, that excess is going to be the second component, which is money that will be invested. And then you're going to give it time. You're going to give it the time. So you have discipline, money, and then enough time that wealth is actually created. It's that simple.
Super easy. The second tenet is start simple and then graduate to sophistication. I hear you say this all the time, Brian. Complexity will have a way of finding you. You don't have to seek it out. So if you're someone who's just starting out and you haven't built up the $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 investment portfolio, there's a chance that just using target retirement funds is a great solution for you. Start simple, get the basics down, then graduate to sophistication.
And that leads to the next point. Because, by the way, you can even use index versions of target retirement funds because we think index investing does work.
If you don't believe us, just go watch the previous segment and look at all the benefits there are to index investing. The next thing we think is that allocation, how you're spreading out your assets, matters a lot more than security selection. We think that 90% of the return that you achieve is caused by the allocation of your assets, not over there picking which individual asset you're using. So if you get that piece right, you're already setting yourself up for success.
And that leads to, and by the way, Dave gets this next portion. I think that this is something he's squarely on the same camp. Investing is only one piece of the total puzzle.
Yep.
We've shared. Dave's great at getting people out of debt and making really good long-term financial decisions. It's just the investment could use a little tweaking. We're kind of the same way. As financial advisors, nobody should come to us thinking we're going to maximize and beat the S&P 500 every year. Our goal is to take your age, your goals, what are your whys for what you want your money to do for you, and can we make it all work and as efficiently and just make sure we're maximizing that strategy as much as possible.
Our next tenet is that there are some things that you can't control when it comes to investing. There are some unknowns, but there are some things you can control, so focus on those, such as taxes, fees, and risk exposure. Don't try to fix what you can't fix, like which direction the market's going to go. Do try to fix what you can fix. How much you pay in taxes, what you pay in fees, and how much risk exposure you have in your portfolio.
And then the next one is understanding that in uncertain times, diversification is going to be your friend. There are two human components that we're always trying to balance. It's the fear and the greed. You know, when you go through a market downturn like we had, because in the first quarter this year, or right after the first quarter, in the second quarter with the pandemic and all the things going on, people are panicking. This is where Dave talks about all the behavioral components that people screw up. The majority of people screw up because they emotionally do not have an asset allocation that matches what they can handle from a behavioral standpoint, and they get in their way. So a good financial advisor will help you balance out that greedy side where you're making so much money in good economies that you think you need to go even further out on the risk spectrum versus the fear of, oh my God, I've got to sell everything because I don't like how this feels. There is a balance that can make this feel much easier and better for you.
And that's a perfect segue, is we think that there is a time where maybe it makes sense to go pro. If you found that perhaps the numbers are large enough and the gravity of your decisions is so great, you don't want to go at it alone, maybe it makes sense to seek out some help. Perhaps because of all of life's different circumstances and all the things pulling you in different directions, there aren't enough hours in the day to put the attention on your finances or on your portfolio that you need to be putting there. Perhaps it makes sense to bring in someone to help you.
And that's really the point where, because I think about all the different reasons people hire us. I mean, there's a lot of you guys, because I said we're beyond common sense. We're beyond, we're there for the 20% that are not struggling with basic behavioral debt issues and other things like that. It's more maximizing. Well, you might be different than your spouse. I mean, think about our relationships with our spouses. I am kind of the nerdy one that focuses on things. And we have people all the time come to us and say, you guys think like I do. You get it. I want to make sure I hire you so that if I'm not here to speak for my family, that this thing keeps going. And so my family members don't get ripped off and we keep this thing going. We get it. And that's what a lot of people, I think, also, one day you're going to wake up and you're going to say, wow, I'm kind of the CEO of a 7-figure holding company here. And that's pretty powerful because one bad decision can just screw this whole thing after you've actually won the game. And that's why we do talk about take the relationship to the next level, the abundance cycle. We love working with clients all across the country. It's truly an amazing thing.
Now, look, I think it's worth saying again. We love Dave.
Yeah.
He has done wonderful things for the financial world. And a lot of times we'll send folks to Dave to go get out of debt, figure that out. But when it comes to investing, we think that if you are part of the 20%, you're part of the folks who can focus on optimization, perhaps there's a better strategy than implementing Dave's investment strategy.
Yeah, and I hope, like I said, we'll see how this plays out. I've often wondered, is this the one that's going to get us in trouble with the big guy? I hope not, because I did want to pay enough respect to the fact that Dave has done much more good than anything else. But it is when he's in our territory when you start talking about investments that I felt like, and look, I want to go ahead and give Dave the benefit of the doubt. He came up with this strategy a long time ago.
Yeah.
And
financial world has changed.
So in the financial world has quickly changed. If you'd asked Brian Preston in 1996 his thoughts, it would be different than it is definitely in 2020. I'm going to give Dave that out, because I think that his strategy has been out there for a long time. We just want you to know you have a partner where after you graduate, where you have the discipline and the behavior, and you want to go beyond and get master's level education and optimization, the Money Guy Show is here. So go check us out, moneyguy.com. Subscribe, ring the bell. We're trying to get to 100,000 by year end. You can be a big part of that. Come join the Money Guy family. I'm your host, Brian Preston, Mr. Bo Hansen, Money Guy team out.